Hey, good morning. Well, we're on our way down to our favorite spot by the river. Me and Hayes. We'll have a sit down in a minute. I'm going to sit down and talk about today's word. The word for today is going to be peculiar. And when we get to our favorite spot, I'm going to explain that. I did think of a lot of other words while we were walking down here that we could have made the theme for this conversation. Most of them based around the theme of batshit crazy. But we're going to go with peculiar. Okay then. Here we are on the banks of the river. This is the same spot I've shot from in the past. You can see the trestle upstream. The water is much, much lower than the last time I shot down here. And that's good. Makes it more fun for Hayes. Just upstream, Site C is very soon going to put the river through the diversion tunnel. So it's a very big step in that construction. That's a little bit of a down the rabbit hole trip for you, because it's going to tie into our story about peculiarity. So Vancouver, as it turns out, and I'm sure this doesn't come as news to anybody, is recognizably one of the leaders in the push to a zero hydrocarbon transportation infrastructure. What that actually means is that Vancouver has in place the sequencing of events that could lead to, basically we're talking about banning automobiles as you know it. And that's not what I'm here to talk about, and that certainly isn't a bad thing. That's actually quite a noble initiative, and Vancouver is not alone in the initiative. They're a leader in the sense that they've been walking the talk of all the cities that I frequent. If you use a bicycle as your primary transportation in Vancouver, there's a good chance that you can safely commute from one place to another with a high likelihood of survival. So those are all good things. Where peculiar starts to come in, I'm watching the news this morning, and apparently on Monday, Vancouver's going to have to raise the price for the fine for dooring bicyclists. Now, the wife and I started right away assuming that, well, they must mean when you don't look behind you and you open your door and a bicyclist rides into you and gets hurt. And just when we're thinking, yeah, there probably should be a fine for that, that's kind of neglectful, they start talking about what they're really talking about, and next thing you know, I'm watching people driving down the street, swerving across solid lines into marked bicycle lanes, opening their door and wiping people out. And going through my head is, well, I don't really know much about the minds and passions of road ragers, and maybe that poor girl with 2 broken arms and the road rash down the side of her face, maybe that satisfies some passion itch of the average road rager, and for the $90 fine that Vancouver currently imposes for that behavior, it's worth it to them. I don't know. And then I'm starting to think a little bit further down this path before I can even get there. Suddenly I'm watching on the news, and what I was going to come to on my own conclusion, yeah, this is not actually just something that injures people. It's on record that people are being killed by this behavior, right? There's a current case of this. And so now I'm wondering, why is this a finable misdemeanor? A. B, does raising it from $89 to $364, does that make whatever, itch these people are scratching too pricey for them? Is that going to price them out of the market? Is that how we're going to deal with this? I don't know. I think if you did that same thing in the other lane to a car, where all that would likely happen would be simple property damage, nothing really serious. So what? A Lamborghini gets $150,000 in body damage. Who cares? That's just property damage, right? On the other hand, people are actually literally being killed. So I don't know. Like I said, I came up with a lot of other words while I was walking down here planning to talk about this. But in the end, I just got to go with peculiar. It's a very peculiar behavior, Vancouver. Oh, and I promised you to tie in the Alice in Wonderland moment about the dam. This same city that's so at the forefront of a hydrocarbon-less transportation infrastructure, they provide a big part of the still ongoing protests for the multi-billion-dollar upriver project that's already at least a third finished. So if you happen to be hearing people talk about it's not over yet, we can still stop this, don't be silly. Anyway, it's a peculiar day. Try not to door any innocent bicyclists on your way to work this morning. Just saying. Thanks for listening.